A deadly school shooting in Texas has some Arizona lawmakers calling for more action here, and they say there is no time to wait, putting out a call to Governor Doug Ducey for a special session. And some call it dark money, others free speech. Now, Arizona voters may get a say on just how much you know about the people paying to influence your decisions at the ballot box. School safety and political cash. It's all part of Politics Unplugged. Good evening. I am political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And we start tonight with that call for a special session on school safety. This following that deadly school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas. And we should mention here there is another shooting just Friday morning in Indiana at a middle school. Details still coming in, but obviously an ongoing crisis in our schools. And joining us now are Democratic Senator Steve Farley and Republican Senator John Kavanaugh. Thank you both for being here. And I want to start with you, Mr. Farley. Following that shooting in Texas, Democrats put out a call for a special session. Why'd you do that? What do you hope to get accomplished?
We've been calling for legislation to finally deal with this issue for years. We called for it after the Parkland shooting. We tried to work with the governor, who refused to actually work with us. He refused to meet with the March for Our Lives students. Instead, he decided to meet with the NRA. But now, after yet another shooting, I think we cannot accept as a new normal a time in which we have kindergarten kids going through active shooter drills in their schools. We've got to do something about it now. There are real solutions we could enact. I certainly hope that the legislature can step up and call a special session on our own, even if the governor decides not to.
You would need the help of Republicans to call that special session on
We would, but given this type of crisis we're under, I'm hoping that even my colleagues across the aisle will be willing to see that there's something that's got to be done now.
Well, let's ask one of your colleagues across the aisle who's sitting right next to you, Mr. Kavanaugh. I mean, Republicans going to be able to support a special session, call on gun safety, school safety, given that Democrats, and we'll get into this a little bit more, have wanted more gun safety measures than Republicans have been willing to do.
Well, first let me say that it's unfortunate that Senator Farley now considers a serious problem and didn't consider it so last month when we had the bill up for a vote, a bill which he and all the Democrats voted against. We had a safety bill. It was based on what the governor wanted. We had made some tweaks to it, and it died because every Democrat in the Senate opposed it. In the House, there was opposition from some Republicans, which stopped the vote, so I don't know how the Democrats there would have voted. But it was a bill that didn't go as far as Senator Farley and the Democrats wanted, but it did move the needle considerably towards school safety. It had the stop order, which took guns away from potentially serious people. It provided for better court evaluation and possibly commitment of these people, suicide prevention, school emergency plans, money for counselors, money for school resource officers, enhanced input into criminal justice systems. It didn't go as far as the Democrats wanted, but it did move the needle considerably in favor of school safety. They voted against it. That is a problem.
Yeah, but that's a pretty serious accusation. He's saying that you did not take school shootings very seriously last month. Care to respond to that?
The governor and the legislative Republicans didn't take school shootings seriously enough by proposing a bill that would do absolutely nothing. The fact is, those stop orders you talked about, as the governor first proposed them, they looked pretty good, but as he got the NRA involved, they took away all the guts from them and said that a family member, a counselor, a relative could not report a kid or a person who may be a danger to themselves and others, and therefore took everything out of that bill that could have been good. Additionally, it doesn't matter if you increase the numbers of people who are prohibited possessors, which we need to do, if you don't also close the gun show loophole or the other loopholes that allow people to easily get a gun, even if they're prohibited possessors.
Now, let's talk
we need universal background checks, and 97% of gun owners agree.
Let's talk a little bit about that stop order, the severe threat order of protection. Now, it did get watered down from what the governor wanted, and essentially there was a host of people who could alert law enforcement, potentially from people who they feel pose a threat to the public. However, it got watered down to the point where only cops, police could really do anything about this. Why did that get watered down? Why not allow parents to be able to alert authorities, spouses alert authorities that they feel that a loved one, a close friend, may be posing a risk?
Well, first, I supported the expanded stop order. I had no problems with the initiation coming from people other than police. There were civil liberties concerns by some Republicans, and that's why it was watered down. But it was not a fatal watering down, because the family members or anybody who knew could still simply call a police officer, and the officer would then take the information and bring it to the court. And he could use testimony from those people also. So did it water it down? Yes. Was it a fatal watering down? No. But the bottom line is, the bill that we passed was better than nothing. It did move the needle considerably further. It didn't go as far as Democrats want. But Senator Farley's position of I get everything or nothing is bad policy. The kids would have been a lot safer today if the bill had been passed. And I don't think he really disagreed with anything in the bill. He just didn't think it went far enough.
No, I just heard that Senator Kavanaugh said he agrees with the strengthened stop orders. So that sounds like the basis for calling a special session and actually getting that done. If we could have the strengthened stop orders in there, close the gun show loophole, we might have a deal to be able to get something done. And that's something we've been calling for. We are ready to work at the table. The truth is, Governor Ducey refused to meet with these school kids, the March for Our Lives leaders, when they asked for it. He refused to meet with Democrats and work with us on this issue. In fact, when those kids had a die-in at the Executive Tower, Governor Ducey sent his education staffer down to talk with them. And he said, well, I hear you want to have a meeting with the governor. If you want a meeting with the governor, you first have to endorse the 20 by 2020 plan, and then I might get you into a meeting. That's not the way that you actually bring all the constituents together and try to come up with something that's good for Arizona. That's purely doing things for political reasons, and we object to that.
Look, the Democrats wanted to load onto a school safety bill other gun control measures, which are only very tangentially related to school safety and might not even make any difference at all, but definitely were poison pills, which would have gotten all the Republicans off the bill. We should concentrate on school safety.
This isn't simply a school safety issue. How many concerts, movie theaters?
We're talking about the stop orders so that if a student appears to be mentally ill, the guns can be taken, they can get treatment and evaluation, suicide training, counselors for the schools, more school resource officers. It was a school safety bill. They suddenly wanted to ban any 18-year-old from buying a rifle. They wanted to go into all sorts of other wish lists that doomed the bill to failure. We should have protected kids and focused on school safety. We couldn't, they wouldn't. That's why we need a special session.
If keeping AR-15s out of the hands of 18-year-olds is going to doom a bill, then there's a problem with the people you're working with at this point.
18-year-olds.
These types of tragedies have happened outside of schools all over the place, as we've seen all over the country. They don't care whether you're partisan if these shooters kill you. You have to do something that is proven to be able to work, and universal background checks can reduce gun deaths.
I do want to go back to a point that Mr. Farley was making. Do you agree that there should be a special session, at least to deal with the stop order?
I think if we can sit down with the Democrats and if they can agree to focus on essentially what this bill was without inserting politically volatile deal killers like assault weapons bans, right, then I think we can. But if they're going to use this as a platform to push a broader anti-gun agenda, then they're doing a disservice to the students who need the protection.
And none of us want to do a broader anti-gun agenda, but if we were able to get expanding universal background checks to gun shows, internet sales, that's something that could really make a difference.
Well, I was going to ask.
If we're able to do that, why don't we come back together and make that thing happen?
I was going to ask, would Democrats be on board? Would you support some sort of special session to deal with school safety that didn't include closing the gun show loophole, didn't include raising the age to buy assault weapons, and just focus on putting a little more teeth into the stop order?
There was already teeth in the stop order before the NRA got involved and got rid of it. That's a problem. Look, if we're able to get back to that point and we're able to get a gun show loophole closed, because it doesn't matter how many people you prohibit from possessing guns if they can easily just go and get it at a gun show. And 40%, there was a 40% reduction in gun fatalities in Connecticut after they put in place a universal background check. These are things that work. These are things that will help not just in schools, but in movie theaters. They'll help in concerts. They'll help in churches. Right. When the next shooting happens, we'll actually be able to have something that makes a difference.
And final response here, we're running out of time.
Getting back to the bill, I didn't get everything that I wanted. I wanted, and Republicans wanted, school marshal program where volunteer school employees could get special training to have weapons available to them.
But I also think that's a deal killer with Democrats.
And that's why I withdrew it. So I took out my deal killer. He's got to take out his. Let's go back to the bill that we agreed to that took us way far forward.
Universal background checks have 97% support from gun owners. It's not a deal killer, except for outside of the environs of the governor's office and the legislature.
All right, we're going to have to end it there for now, guys, but thanks a lot for stopping by. We have more Politics Unplugged. Just ahead up next, I'll look at efforts to give you more information on who's paying to influence your vote. Plus, well, the NFL says no more kneeling, but does the president want even more?
In the country, you have to stand proudly for the national anthem.
A closer look at patriotism by intimidation, still on Politics Unplugged. Still ahead on Politics Unplugged.
Arizona, we've got a lot of news to get to this morning.
Our homemade ice cream recipe calls for just a handful of natural ingredients, like extra cream, because at Turkey Hill, simple is best. All natural ice cream from Turkey Hill. Extra simple, extra good.
Snow Request got involved with the chamber so that we could understand more about what is going on from a legislative perspective that could impact our business. The high caliber programs that they offer can really help you figure out what you might be able to do better or different to run your business and get better results.
The Memorial Day sale at Imagine Backyard Living, our biggest free summer sale ever. Save up to 20% off a jacuzzi, hot tub, or Sundance Spa. Save up to 20% on swim spas. Plus, save even more on our factory red tags. Hurry, sale ends Monday, May 29th.
Never having been in a car accident, I had zero idea what I was doing. So Learn and Row kind of took that responsibility of mine and helped guide me through that whole legal process. I highly recommend Learn and Row to anyone who's been in a car accident.
Call 977-1900. Summer kicks off Memorial Day weekend at Golfland Sunsplash. Tickets are now available online starting at $25.99 plus tax. Save online now at golfland.com.
The XT5 reviews are in. Come in now and see the beauty of the XT5 for yourself. Get this low-mileage lease on this 2018 Cadillac XT5 for only $349 per month.
Our homemade ice cream recipe calls for just a handful of natural ingredients, like extra cream, because at Turkey Hill, simple is best. All natural ice cream from Turkey Hill. Extra simple, extra good.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. Tonight's hot topic, well, money in politics. And joining us now to talk about this is former Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard and Tempe Councilwoman Lauren Kuby. Now, you talked a lot, Mr. Goddard, about dark money, dirty money in politics over the past several years. So explain for viewers who may not be that familiar, what exactly do you mean by dark money?
I mean, very simply, money that's in politics trying to influence our votes, but the contributors don't want you to know who they are. So they hide behind a series of legal facades.
A Supreme Court ruling, if I remember right.
No, not as to disclosure. That's a misconception. The Supreme Court said corporations are people, money is speech. But we think disclosure is the antidote. We think full understanding of who it is that's trying to influence your vote is the way to fix it. And Justice Kennedy, who wrote that opinion, said just a year ago, he was shocked to find out that his Eventually, his Supreme Court decision about disclosure was not being followed, that there wasn't any good disclosure. And here in Arizona, we're at the top of the list. We have the least disclosure of any state. We basically bend over backwards to allow people to hide.
Yeah, and you've described Arizona as the poster
child of dark money, dirty money, excuse me. And so we're trying to fix that with this petition.
And Councilwoman, you know, what is the city's efforts, your city, Tempe, what have they been trying to do and what's been the result?
So in March, our voters voted overwhelmingly. 91% of our voters supported our dark money ordinance to require disclosure, original source donors to be disclosed if they spend money in our elections. So, you know, how often in public policy do you see 91% of the voters weigh in?
I've never seen it at that level. That's amazing.
Now, is there any legal issues? I mean, you are the former Attorney General of Arizona. I mean, what kind of authority does a governor have to step in on local governments if something has 90% approval?
Well, I think none. I think a charter city like Tempe has the authority to handle local affairs, and that's exactly what they're supposed to do. But the legislature doesn't agree with that, and they immediately passed, as soon as Tempe voters stood up and did this amazing feat, which was, as the councilwoman who led this fight said, that this is just overwhelming support. It's very similar, in some cases identical, to what we're trying to put statewide with a constitutional amendment. That's what the Outlaw Dirty Money program would do for the entire state. Legislature tried to tell Tempe they can't do that. No city or town should be allowed to actually say who can participate in their elections.
So, and yet lawsuits here, I feel?
Well, we had the courts back in August in the Brenovich versus Tucson case. They ruled that local elections are of local concern and not of statewide interest. And so our city, we actually, you know, we know that this charter amendment is on the governor's desk. We hope he'll do the right thing. We hope that he'll respect the will of the voters and sign our charter amendment. And we're not sure what we will do. We need to confer as a council, but I know that we want to protect the will of our voters, and 91% is a pretty heady number. So we can't ignore that will. We need to protect the will of the voters. Our voters are clearly stating that they want to know who's trying to influence their elections. And it's not just with this initiative. Our voters have consistently voted for campaign finance reform and to reduce the corrosive influence of money in politics.
All right, and talk about you brought the prop here.
I brought the prop. Here's my petition. This is the most powerful thing you get in our democracy, is the ability to pass and sign one of these petitions. We need 225,000 signatures.
Where are you at right now?
Almost there. We're in track to get the 225. We're looking for more. Obviously, you need a
cushion. Yeah.
You need a cushion, absolutely. But we're really rolling. And frankly, anybody who's got one of these petitions right now, my plea is that you turn it into us now, because we need those signatures very badly to be able to get our totals up high enough so that we feel really good by filing the end of June.
Give us a breakdown. You know, if this gets on the ballot, what are voters going to be asked to choose?
In this case, they're going to be asked to do a very simple thing, which is if this is on the ballot in November, it will say there's a change to our Constitution which would establish the right to know the original source of all contributions seeking to influence your vote. So that's very simple. That's exactly what Tempe did. And their
transparency.
Transparency, it's basic fairness, it's leveling the playing field, and all this says is Arizonans have the right to know everybody that's trying to influence their vote. And in Arizona, in the last couple of election cycles, tens of millions of dollars anonymously have been flooding into our elections. That's got to stop, because it's corrupting our system.
This isn't going to be the only initiative, if you guys get this on the ballot, dealing with this issue on the ballot in November. From what I understand, the legislature has put up its own ballot initiative.
That's an initiative to gut clean elections, which is sort of a separate issue, but all related, because it all relates to the corrosive influence of money in politics.
Yeah.
And interestingly,
because it takes the power away from the Clean Elections Commission to deal with this money and gives it to a board handpicked by the governor, correct?
Yes.
That's exactly right. The legislature, sort of hearing footsteps, decided, well, let's get rid of the proposition that voters put in back in 1998, which was clean elections. They basically said, we're going to have a nonpartisan board that's going to establish the rules for running elections if you participate in the public financing. Clean elections, I believe, has done a superb job. And that's why, if this constitutional amendment is passed, we'd make the Clean Elections Commission the rule maker for the process of disclosing all funds. So they work together. Lauren's exactly right. This is about changing Arizona, making it more transparent, and making sure that partisanship gets pulled out of this.
Right.
Okay, and I want to give you the final word on this. We're running out of time.
From my perspective as a local official, the state is obviously, very opposed to disclosure, and our governor has a conflict there because he's accepted millions of dollars of undisclosed funds to benefit his campaign. So it's important to note that cities can lead, and we want the will of our voters affirmed, that cities can take the lead in this. And if the state wants to oppose it, they can, but they should get out of the way and let cities lead and try and require disclosure and affirm the will of our voters.
All right, thank you both for being here, but that's all the time we have in this segment. But we do have more coming up, and we're going to be talking it out with our panel here on Politics Unplugged.
The XT5 reviews are in. Get this low mileage lease on this 2018 Cadillac XT5 from around $349 per month. Visit your Valley Cadillac dealer.
Need new flooring? Express will bring samples to your home on your schedule.
Now through Memorial Day, save up to 72% with no interest payment options.
What about all this?
Don't worry, at Express Flooring, we move it for free.
Call 800-EXPRESS.
Hi, I'm Todd Sanders with the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce. Economic development is critical to Arizona. We're uniting the Valley's top business leaders to help our economy. Make an investment in your business. Join the Chamber today.
How do you show up?
Let's go.
Do you just bring it? Or do you bring it all?
Lucas, you gotta go.
Third row like a pro. Current owners switch to GMC and get this low mileage lease on this 2018 GMC Acadia SLE1 for around $299 per month. See your Valley GMC dealers.
Getting hurt in a wreck can ruin your day, but speaking to the insurance company before calling us could ruin your life. Pick up the phone and call us first. We'll deal with the insurance company and make sure you get every dollar you deserve.
Call 977-1900.
Also handling criminal and DUI defense cases.
It's the Memorial Day sale at Mattress Firm. And to celebrate, we've brought back our most popular offer. Now through Monday, get a free adjustable base with your mattress purchase. That's up to a $699 value, free. But hurry, last time we sold out. Plus, we've dropped the price of a king to a queen and the price of a queen to a twin. So you can save up to $700 and get a free adjustable base for a total savings of up to $13.99. Don't wait. This sale ends Monday. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm.
My new Penguin Air AC system can do a lot of things. Energy efficient, quiet, keeps me cool, but it can't make snow.
Schedule your $29 AC tune-up. Penguin Air and Plumbing.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. It's now time to talk it out with our partners from First Strategic. And with us today, Kurt Davis and Marcus Dellartino. Guys, I want to start with you, Kurt. Now, you said you heard something in our last segment, in our discussion around dark money. You said you wanted to clear something up.
The councilwoman made either a purposeful or accidental misstatement about the governor accepting dark money. The candidate can't accept dark money. People do things independently in a campaign, but no candidate can coordinate or accept that dark money. So that should be clear to people. He has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, is this something that's going to resonate with voters in November if this gets on the ballot?
Oh, sure. You know, money in politics is always of interest to the voters, and certainly I think that they'll be interested in this as well. There is, no matter what you say or what you do, people believe in the electorate, no matter what the statutes call for, that money is influencing politics in a negative way. And there's virtually nothing you can do or say that overcomes that perception.
Okay, I want to stick with you, Marcus. You're down at the legislature a lot. Do you think there's a possibility that lawmakers could call their own special session on school safety? Now, you saw there's quite a bit of disagreement between, Senators Farley and Kavanaugh. However, They did seem to agree that on the parameters of this stop order, the severe threat of order of protection that the governor had unveiled.
Oh, let's not kid ourselves. That's just not going to happen. They may have that agreement here in the studio, but as soon as a special session's called, it will turn into a gun issue. It will turn about closing the loophole. But, you know, it's funny because you heard them actually agree to the fact, look, I gave up something here, Mr. Kavanaugh agreed to, and if Mr. Farley would agree to give up the background checks or the closing the gun loophole, then yes, you could have progress on this issue. But I think what is far more likely is that the governor's office is going to sit down with the legislative leadership and work out a few kinks in this, and then you'll see a brand new bill at the beginning of the session.
You heard Mr. Kavanaugh say that he's willing to deal with school safety, but he doesn't want to deal with Democrats if they want to turn the school safety bill into some sort of gun control bill. Well, is it fair for him to say that? Because we're talking about kids shooting other kids at these schools, violence at these schools. Why shouldn't some gun safety, gun control measures be part of any school safety bill?
There should be real solutions to the issue, not trumped up political rhetoric that's going to be used in a campaign in November. So if people really care about this, they could come to an agreement, and the governor's bill was a great outline to get to an agreement that actually might do something. If they're going to just play politics, then guess what? As Marcus said, you'll be waiting until next session.
Okay. Now,
and by the way, I should clear this up. The governor, I know for a fact, did meet with the Democrats on this issue. It may have been just once and not repeatedly, but at least he did meet with them, and that needed to be clarified from the first segment.
Okay, well, let's switch gears here. Now, let's talk a couple weeks ago. Supreme Court cleared the way for legalized sports betting. Now, you guys took a look. You guys conducted a poll into this. Now, first of all, before we get into all the details there, any conflicts of interest here? Who paid for this poll? I know you have some clients that are involved in this industry.
We have clients that participate tangentially in the industry, but we paid for the poll.
We did the poll ourselves. We've noticed a sea change that's occurring on this issue, both at the legislature and in the public. And we sat around the table and said, hey, let's go in and do a poll and find out.
And we got some of the video up right now. It says nearly 52% support legalized sports betting, with 33% said they would be very likely, 18% somewhat likely to support legalized sports wagering. What's that tell you?
It's a shift if you look over time. It used to be in the 30s nationally, and it's now in the 50s. Then when you add the question about if people believe the money will go to a public purpose, like education, the number shoots up to 67%.
I was going to say, you got kind of looked at what would happen if that money was earmarked specifically for education. What'd you find?
Well, the numbers shot up dramatically, and we don't have this particular graph, but what it shows is that people are confused that there was money to be made on sports wagering by the state. And once you clarify that this is a revenue opportunity for the state, those numbers shoot up to 70%, almost 70%, actually 67%, but almost 70%.
So where are we headed with this? I know the governor supports legalized sports wagering here. What are we going to see?
The Supreme Court decision has put the ball back in the state's court. So using a sports metaphor. So they have to make decisions about whether they're going to allow or not allow this to occur. And the feds, at the same time, the Congress, may re-regulate. This is all up in the air.
Okay. But also keep in mind, this is also in the context of it's about time to start renegotiating the tribal compacts on gaming on tribal lands.
The governor's been trying to do that now for quite a while, and we haven't seen anything really happen with that.
This all plays into that.
I do want to stick with sports here and move on to the NFL. NFL had changed its policy regarding the national anthem, saying that if you're out on the field, you have to stand for the national anthem. No more kneeling. Players can stay in the locker room as a form of private protest. Is this a good decision? They seem to be getting a lot of flack for this.
Well, it's a private industry, so they have the right to make that decision. Players are actually employees of the NFL. But what I find most interesting is the NBA has the exact same policy, and nobody's talking about the NBA.
Well, they are talking about what the president said, when the president kind of seemed to suggest that if you don't stand for the anthem, maybe you should be moved to another country or be deported to another country. Marcus?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And frankly, I don't think the net effect of this is going to change much. You've already got, as fast as you can introduce a rule, there's somebody who's trying to bypass the rule, right? So you've already got owners saying, I'll pick up the fine. I don't think the net effect's going to be dramatic.
All right, I got to cut you off. That's all the time we have for Politics Unplugged. Be sure to join us next week. Good night.
Diamond